You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. A division of RCE is now the Spark Radio Network. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? America Off the Rails has been declared a conservatives-only safe zone. Only conservatives allowed from this point forward. Any liberal, socialist, butthurt, hippie, tree huggers, please exit the facility immediately. Again, attention please. America Off the Rails is now designated as a conservative safe zone only. All butthurt, tree-hugging, hippie, free-to-be, you-and-me types exit the facility immediately. Thank you.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Come expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you might be. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. Whether you're listening to us through our internet streams or around the country in one of our affiliates or around the world, of course, if you're listening online, we do have folks that listen all over the world. I want to give a quick shout-out to the troops. I haven't done that in a while. Before we get too far into things, though, I have to talk about something that really just kind of got my attention. It was a story that broke just after Ted Cruz made his little statement about New York values. That's right, folks.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
New York City has now the only masturbation booth known to man. That's right. You can, if you're having a really bad day, you can be like, hey Joe, hey, you having a stressful day, brother? We'll just go to that booth right there on 57th and 8th, man. Just pull the curtain, yank your meat, you're done. It's all good. It's all gravy, baby. Yeah, it's definitely all gravy when you're done. So my question is, how wrong was Ted Cruz to make a statement like that? Was it a mean-spirited statement? Maybe. But let's face it. The one thing that he said was true. So there's really not very many conservatives that come out of New York City, Trump included. Now, I have to tell you, this is going to be a little bit different show than usual. I do want to give a quick shout out to the affiliates, especially those of you listening on WNJC 1360 AM out of Philadelphia. You'll be listening to this show on 2 Eastern on Thursday afternoon, so I hope you guys are enjoying your day. This show is also heard every Monday through Friday on the Spark Radio Network, as well as K98Talk.com at 11 Eastern, 10 Central. That is, of course, in the evening, in case I didn't say that earlier. And we have several other affiliates as well. You can feel free to visit K98Talk.org. It actually will line out all the different affiliates that play not only my show, but a lot of others that we have here that are not only associated with K98 Talk, but my endeavor, the Spark Radio Network. You'll notice we're now playing a plug for that particular network, and that is because as we continue to branch out, we will be branching out under that name. Now, I have to say, I've taken the last couple of days off on purpose because I don't know about the rest of you, but look, I'm not going to lie, talk radio is not an easy thing to do. I used to get ideas of what I wanted to talk about by listening to the other hosts that do this, that had done this for a long time, and say, well, I like what you're saying here, but why aren't we talking about it from this perspective? Okay, that was basically my research. That and pulling up articles, going through things, all the regular show prep that hosts do. But the problem is everything that I pull up, anytime I start trying to get things lined out and start figuring out what I want to talk about, the one thing that's dominating the news cycle and has been for 24/7, 365, not quite there, but getting pretty close, is Mr. Huge himself, the one, the only Donald Trumpkin. My problem is, folks, I don't give a damn about Donald Trump. At least 5 of you that are listening right now, which is most of my audience, just kidding, have probably turned off the stream right now. But I have to be honest, I don't care about Donald Trump. I haven't for quite some time. I lost any semblance of respect I had for the man when he decided to make fun of a reporter with special needs in front of a national audience. Look, I know people that were born with special needs. I myself have special needs, but not through anything like that. I mean, I've been made fun of most of my adult life because I have a limp, and it's a pretty severe limp. So I pulled to the left. One of the ways that I found to cope with it was, instead of letting everybody else be the one to start making fun of me, I started picking on myself. That was my choice. And yes, at first, it wasn't a very healthy coping mechanism. But the more I got used to it, the more I realized that, being different is not the end of the world. It could be worse. I could not be here. But at the same time, to have someone who is supposed to be and wants to be, or supposed to be a leader and wants to be the next president of the United States, to literally make fun of someone because they're different than you are, that disgusts me. And it doesn't disgust me just because of my personal issues. It disgusts me because I have children with special needs. And to see that man make fun of that reporter the way he did, now anytime I see any picture of him, any mention of him, the first thing I want to do is punch him in the face. Not saying I'm going to do it. I'm saying that's what I want to do. My other issues with Trump is the same thing that we've talked about before. We have been making fun of the Obama acolytes for 7+ years at this point because they were following someone based on a cult of personality. If you are someone who supports Trump and you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, all I ask you to do is take a look at where he actually stands on the issues. Stop looking at the one that you agree with, because that's where I keep running into issues with Trump supporters. It's all about immigration. It's all about immigration. It's all about immigration. It's all about immigration. If you go and you look, he's changed his mind on immigration 6 times since 2013. So where does he actually stand on immigration? Why is it now suddenly so important to him to make sure that immigration is addressed? Because he knows it's important to you. You're going to be falling into the same trap that everybody fell into with Obama. He's telling you what you want to hear. And what disgusts me and what annoys me and what's making my job so much harder is because anytime I turn on anybody that is a big name in terrestrial talk radio other than Glenn Beck, it's all about Donald Trump. And even Beck, to a point, is all about Donald Trump, but he's talking about the negative on Donald Trump. I don't even really want to talk about Donald Trump, but there are so many things that are going on right now that I still have to. It's made it really hard to do my job. Granted, this isn't my only job, so it pays my bills, but it doesn't pay all of them. So it's not like I couldn't just go, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to do that, though. And I'm not going to do that for a myriad of reasons. But one of the reasons I started the conversation the way I started it tonight is I have to tell you something. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, that I have come to a realization. It's a very painful one, but a realization nonetheless. It is time that I face the facts. While I've never once considered leaving the Republican Party, at some point along the way, the party seems to have left me. Gone are the days of fiscal responsibility and personal accountability. Those have been replaced by just a little less big government than the other party. The Republican Party has become Democrat-light. All the same hype, but only slightly less BS. Because we're all big government now. If you don't believe me, Mr. I'm not beholden to anyone just announced how he was going to increase the ethanol program. The ethanol program is the biggest big government sham there ever was. Do you realize that if you look at the numbers for the ethanol program, for every 4 gallons of ethanol-based gasoline that they produce, or the ethanol combined gasoline, sorry, I guess they're actually one and the same. For every 4 gallons they produce, all of the machinery that helps plant the corn or whatever other means of vegetable byproduct they're using, and then harvest the corn and process the corn, it burns 3 gallons of gasoline for every 4 that they produce. It is the biggest government sham. And Mr. I'm beholden to no one, Mr. Anti-Establishment, just announced that he's going to make that program stronger. Why do we even need an ethanol program at this point? Has anybody seen gas prices lately? Why do we need an ethanol program? It's a failed program surviving on government subsidies. And yet, Mr. I'm beholden to no one has just announced that he's going to make that program stronger. So basically, we're going to get more of the George Walker Bush big government establishment republicanism from the guy who says he's not part of the establishment. Would you please wake up, people? Look, I don't know who's going to be the nominee. What I know is that if it's Trump, I have to say, I don't know if we deserve to survive any longer as a nation. You're telling me that at this point, our best option for president is either going to be a big government, crony capitalist on one side, or possibly someone who should either be a convicted felon or a raging socialist on the other. And you're telling me as a nation that's the best that we can do now, because we all have to lead with our feels. Do you guys not realize how crazy we look at this point? Do you not realize how insanely crazy we as a party look? The Republican Party has embraced, not ran from, basically embraced every stereotype that the left has ever put out about it. And it's embodied in Donald Trump. Not only Donald Trump, but the recent announcement of the endorsement from Sarah Palin. Look, I'm not going to lie. There was a time that I respected Sarah Palin. I looked up to her. And when she hit the scene in 2008, I really thought that she was going to be a mover and a shaker for the Republican Party. What I found instead was someone who had no wherewithal, no ability to communicate a coherent thought, as now even notably by the fact that she's no longer even associated with Fox News. I mean, come on. But now she's all about Trump because she wants to back the winner. This is my point, folks. This is how I feel. This is how I feel right now today. I feel like the guy that's in the middle, and to the left of me are socialists, to the right of me are raging crony capitalists, and I'm in the middle clinging to my guns, my Bible, and the Constitution. Am I alone here? Does the Constitution in general mean nothing to this country any longer? Because if it does, you know what? Somebody let me know. Maybe I'm fighting a lost battle at this point. Maybe it's just time for me to face it. I mean, so I don't understand. I don't understand what it is that we're supposed to do. And I actually have a question from the chat room from, it looks like another radio station. Looks like somebody under the name of New Media Patriot Radio. As of right now, to be honest, I'm not a supporter of anyone. I am leaning towards Cruz, to answer your question, because your specific question is, are you a Cruz supporter? I'm leaning towards Cruz, but only because at this point I think he would be the only one who would not be using executive order like it was basically cocaine, because he actually he does comprehend the Constitution. I think at this point, one of the things that I keep coming back to over and over and over again, when it comes to whoever we're about to put in the White House, the genie has been let out of the bottle like crazy when it comes to W, and then, of course, now Obama. There have been executive orders out the wazoo. And anytime they can't get anything done, they want to pick up their pen and use a phone. That needs to stop. If it were up to me, if I were president, one of the first things that I would do is actually do away with executive orders, or bring them at least back down to the level that they were originally intended for, and also do something about signing statements, because those are insane. There has been, over the last 40 years, way too much power associated with the executive branch. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then do yourself a favor. Use a search engine, whether it's Bing, Google, whatever one you want to use, and type in signing statements. Figure out how crazy those things are. Figure out some of the crazy things they've been used for. And we're about to give a crony capitalist the power of an executive order and a signing statement. Do you realize at this point our president doesn't even technically need Congress? At least the president that doesn't give a damn about the Constitution does not need Congress. Obama's proved it over and over and over again. Obama's proved it over and over and over again. It's plain and simple. If you throw the Constitution out the window, the president can basically do whatever they want. He's proven that time and time again. When he first got elected, he said, look, I'm not a dictator. I can't do these things. He's done everything that he said he couldn't do because he was a dictator. And we're about to give Donald Trump this power. Have you seen what this man does with power? I mean, am I alone here? Because if I am, then just tell me. And I don't know, maybe I can find something else to do with my time. I'm really frustrated at this point, folks, and I know that's probably coming across, but it's because I'm angry at this point. And I'm not angry for the same reasons that a lot of folks are angry, and I'm not, we need to nuke every single Islamist, and we need to close all the borders. Look, I get that. We need to enforce our border laws. I understand that, but do we really want someone who is a raging lunatic at the helm of this country? We've had it for the last 7 years. And no, I don't know Donald Trump personally, so I don't honestly know if he's insane. But look at his behavior and tell me there's not a problem there somewhere. The man has specifically said, and I quote, if she wasn't my daughter, she's hot enough that I would date her. Okay, so having taken a couple of semesters of psychology, I will tell you that whoever made up all this people are saying and this is normal and this is not normal, if you go back and you look, they were all pretty much high crazy people. So I understand that it's all a relative term. But at the same time, do you really want, so come on, there has to be some decorum. And I would agree with your statement as well. We do need a change of some kind. Now, I have to admit, I'm not that familiar with the Mark Levin amendments, as you just put in one of the chats that we have available. I will state that I have read a lot of his information about the Sorry, my train of thought is eluding me. But the Convention of States, that is one thing that I've often wondered about. And we've actually had a few guests on the show here and there to talk about it. I'm not sure what it is that we actually need at this point. What I know we don't need is Donald Trump. And speaking of Donald Trump, just to kind of illustrate the point of how far away from the mark Sarah Palin has gotten at this point, and just how odd Donald Trump actually sounds, I have a bit of a clip from the announcement that was made, I believe it was yesterday.
I just want to now say just a couple of words about a very special person. This is a person who I've known for a long time, who I've respected for so long, an incredible husband, an incredible family, and somebody that when I heard that she was going to endorse me, I was so honored. You have no idea how honored. And I would like to bring up, if I might, Governor Sarah Palin. Special person. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be in Iowa. We're here just thawing out. Todd and I and a couple of our friends here from Alaska, lending our support for the next president of our great United States of America, Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump, you're right. Look back there in the press box. Heads are spinning. Media heads are spinning. This is going to be so much fun. Are you ready to make America great again? We all have a part in this. We all have a responsibility. Looking around at all of you, you hardworking Iowa families, you farm families, and teachers and Teamsters and cops and cooks, you rock and rollers and holy rollers. All of you who work so hard, you full-time moms, you with the hands that rock the cradle. You all make the world go round, and now our cause is one. When asked why I would jump into a primary, kind of stirring it up a little bit maybe, and choose one over some friends who are running, and I've endorsed a couple others in their races before they decided to run for president, I was told, warned left and right, you are going to get so clobbered in the press, you are just going to get beat up and chewed up and spit out. And, I'm thinking, and? Yeah? Like you guys haven't tried to do that every day since that night in 2008 when I was on stage nominated for VP. And I got to say, yeah, I'll go, send me, you betcha, I'll serve.
All right, so I just have to say, it went on for several more minutes. I think that encapsulated enough of the point I want to try to make. Sarah Palin, congratulations. You are now another instance of life imitating art. You have become the Tina Fey SNL parodies of yourself. Let that sink in for a second. I know you don't listen, but this will get back to you. I know it does because I get emails from folks that I had no idea even knew that I existed. So I know at some point you will hear about this. What I don't understand is how it is that you have gone so far off the mark. Because again, in 2008, you were amazing. You were a breath of fresh air to the party. You were a woman that was showing strength. And now you've become a mouthpiece for a crony capitalist with horrible hair. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not making it up. That's pretty much exactly where she is at this point. She is now a mouthpiece for a crony capitalist with horrible hair. I mean, look, I get it. When Trump first came on the scene, even I bought into it for a second because it was so great. After the last 7 years of seeing someone just basically, milk toast, mom jeans wearing, girl bicycle riding, can't throw for crap, basically going around kissing every other country's butt, I understand because for a second I bought into it too. And then I realized if you look and you really look into Trump and his supporters, and I don't mean all of them, I have some friends that are Trump supporters. Hell, I'm married to a Trump supporter. I can't imagine how my dinner table is. But my point is, a lot of them are exactly what the Democratic Party says that the entire Republican Party is. old, white, angry people. You know, for once, we actually have things on our side that we've never had before. You know, the Democratic side of the ticket looks like Golden Girls or Geriatrics or Us, or they look like their sponsors should be Depends or Geritol. And we actually have Latinos and young people and even a woman for the moment, unless she continues to slip. So we suddenly are the party of diversity, yet the majority of the people that are throwing their support behind Trump don't want any of the diversity. And what drives me crazy, what makes me crazy, you know what, it's been a while since we've talked about it, so I think I'm actually just going to play the clip. I think I'm actually... Hang on a second. I'm trying to get something queued up here. One sec. You know, somebody in the chat just mentioned the attack on Cruz from Trump. That's actually what I'm looking for. Bear with me for just a second. Thought I had it here, but I may not be able to find it quick enough. I don't want to sit here and keep talking to myself. All right, so anyway, I was going to play the clip where not Ted Cruz, but Donald Trump actually talks about how Ted Cruz needs to go in and get a preemptive judgment from a court stating that he is, quote-unquote, a naturalized citizen and eligible to run for president. Here's my issue, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, because, you know, we have affiliates that pick this show up all over the place, so some of you may be listening for the first time. Okay, I'm going to go back to 2008, when this story first broke on Obama. I got to say, I bit. When all of these different stories came out about, you know, there's proof that he wasn't actually born in Hawaii, he's not technically a naturalized citizen, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Here's the thing. If you do the research and you actually pay attention, the argument is moot because his mother was a U.S. citizen. It doesn't matter where you're born if one of your parents is a U.S. citizen, because by default, you are a U.S. citizen. Now, let me tell you where the argument is coming from. In 1790, there was a rule written that talked about the eligibility for the president, and the word was actually used in that original rule that in order to be president, you had to be a naturalized citizen. Well, at some point along the way, the word naturalized was actually removed from the argument, but it's still been widely speculated that what they meant by naturalized citizen was you had to have been born on U.S. soil. The problem is, legally, the argument doesn't hold water. A naturalized citizen is anyone born to an American parent. Ted Cruz is a naturalized American citizen and is eligible to run for president. I know that a lot of the tinfoil hat wearers, when it comes to Obama, don't want to hear that because nobody wants to face the fact that at least one of his parents was likely an American citizen, so he is eligible, and I understand that it kind of deflates your whole argument, but it's time for us to start being smarter. If we were actually paying attention to everything that's been going on for the last 20 years, we would not be where we are right now. And we wouldn't be on the verge of having the choice between the three worst possible people that could be president of the United States. Because it's already basically a foregone conclusion on my side of the aisle that Donald Trump is going to get the nomination. I pray to God that I am wrong, that I'm wrong about that. But if you listen to everyone who's been doing this a lot longer than I've been doing this, they have all come to the same conclusion. Donald Trump has sewn up the nomination. I don't know where they get their information from, and I pray to God they're wrong, because I'm really tired of hearing about Donald Trump. But over and over and over again, the same thing is said. At this point, it is a foregone conclusion he will be the nominee for the Republican Party. And I have to tell you again, at some point, the Republican Party has left me, if this is the best that they can offer. When we have folks like Cruz, who is a constitutional conservative, who wants limited government, fiscal responsibility, and we elect instead Donald Trump? Why? Because he says he's going to get even with everybody that's ever done us wrong? And I understand I really do, because I hear this argument all the time. The reason a lot of people like Donald Trump is because they feel like he leads with his heart. And he follows through with what he says, and he means what he says. I'm going to remind you of something. Hitler led with his heart, and he meant every word that he said. Look where it got the Germans. I'm telling you, and I've been telling you this since the day that I started a radio show, and since the day I started a Facebook page that initially, or at some point, led to the radio show. If and when we go down the road that we have started upon, and we go dark, when we do, we will make Nazi Germany look like Girl Scouts. And I'm telling you right now, we're headed in that direction. Look at all of the anger everywhere. It doesn't matter what color your skin is anymore. You've got an ample reason to be angry about something, at least if you listen to the government. So I ask you again, what is it that you are going to do? Are you going to fall in line with everybody else and pull the lever for Trump in the primary just because you think that's what you ought to do? Are you going to actually do some research of your own? Because look, at this point, I have to ask a question. We've been throwing around the word low information voter now for the last 7 years, if not longer. Low information voter has now been the catchphrase of the Republican Party. Before that, it was the catchphrase of the Democrat Party. The problem is, if all you do is throw around the word low information voter, who exactly is a low information voter? Is it you? Is it me? Is it somebody that doesn't pay attention and then they just go out and throw the lever for whatever feels good? Or because they saw a commercial for somebody 30 seconds before they went to the voting booth? Let me tell you who the low information voter is. It's everybody. So we need to get everybody into the same boat again and make them understand that everybody's vote matters, everybody's vote counts, and please, actually do a little bit of research on your own. Don't just listen to the guys like me that think that we know everything. And I gotta admit, I'm wrong more times than I'm right. I don't do this because I think I know everything. I do this because I want to make you think. Because there's not enough thinking in the world anymore. We're not taught to think in school. We're not taught to think in colleges anymore. We're taught to pass tests. Critical thinking no longer exists in this nation. And because we don't have critical thinking, you have seen this slow turn to statism. What is best for me that can also perpetuate whatever it is that the government says that we need to do? That is statism. When you're not only looking out for just yourself, but your country basically takes forefront on everything. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's always a bad thing. What I am saying is that there comes a point when all you want to look at is what's best for the government. Not what's best for you, the individual, not what's best for your family, but what's best for the government. The three people that it's basically been narrowed down to, if you listen to the pundits right now, are the three that are going to be best for the government, not necessarily best for you. Because Hillary Clinton, if elected, is going to continue another 4 years of Barack Obama. If Sanders is elected, it'll be at least 4 years of, yet again, nothing being done while he tries to pass every crazy socialist pipe dream known to man. And then if Donald Trump, perish the thought, gets elected, we're going to have the first raging crony capitalist with the reins of the free world at his disposal. I mean, I don't understand what it is that's happened to this country. And we're going to talk about that some more when we get back. But at this point, I just realized we've actually gone a little bit over the top of the hour. So we are going to have to take a really quick break and pay a few bills. We will be right back here in just a couple minutes. Don't go away. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be right back here in just a couple minutes. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business, and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to
the... We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program, America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
All right, guys, we're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah! No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the bill.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. And before we left, we were basically talking about the fact that at some point the Republican Party seems to have completely shifted away from everything that it stood for. And I don't say that lightly. Again, take a look at the last several election cycles. We've actually become the party that seems to revel in the fact that we lose, because we're standing on our principles. And I understand that to a point. But how can we go from the party that's standing on our principles and making fun of the lefties that are like, oh my God, Barack Obama's the best thing since sliced bread, and now Donald Trump comes on the scene and suddenly we forget everything that we've been making fun of people about for the last 7 years. And now, of course, again, we are electing someone involved in a cult of personality. Again, let me make this perfectly clear. I do not know Donald Trump personally. I have heard from folks that do know him personally that tell me that I've got him all wrong. What I do know is in this job that he is applying for right now, this is a job interview. When he goes out and he tells you what it is that he's going to be able to do, and he gets up on all these stages and he tells you what he's going to do, when he goes to all these debates, this is his job interview. But let me tell you something that's changed in this country, and I don't know when it changed, how it changed, or how we get it back, but there used to be a time when these politicians understood that they worked for us. Not only do they not understand that anymore, they really could give a care less one way or the other. This one is no different. Because let me tell you this right now. One of the biggest things that he's running around telling everybody is, I'm an outsider. I've not been in politics. I don't deal with politics. That's a lie. How can you be an outsider when you plainly admit that you have bought politicians because you knew that if you contributed to their campaigns, they would owe you favors? The same people that you're railing against right now are the same people that you supported with your money. How can you dare call yourself an outsider when you've been in the midst of it, in the mix of it, and all of these people that you're making fun of now and that you're calling stupid leaders, you're the reason they're there. You helped them get where they are. You supported them when they needed you, and now you're throwing them to the wolves. This is my point. Something I've been saying all along and nobody wants to hear me. If he's willing to turn against the people that he once supported now, what do you think he's going to do to you? The American people. The people that he's supposed to be swearing to protect. You know, there's an oath that they take. It's the same one that everybody talks about for the last 7 years that Obama took and how he hasn't been living up to it. If you honestly think that Donald Trump is going to do any better, then please just turn off the show. I don't do this for ratings, folks. I never have. And if Donald Trump is the direction this country is going, then I'm done. I'm not going to tell you that I'm moving. I've already done that. I've bought myself a place in the country. I'm going to put up a wall, and I'm going to be left alone. If either Sanders or Trump wins, that's my plan. Because you mark my words, when you give a man like Donald Trump complete, unfettered, absolute power, you have no idea what you've done. Because let's face it, the checks and balances, they don't work anymore. Obama has proven that over and over and time again. Because he can do an in-run around Congress anytime that he wants to, and then it takes forever for the Supreme Court to catch up and say, yeah, you know, Barry, you probably really shouldn't have done that, so you should probably do something about making that go away. Speaking of which, the monarch who would be president recently got a little slap down from a justice that he appointed, who basically said that he couldn't keep from releasing information to the court about the Fast and Furious gun running scandal. Now, remember, when again was Fast and Furious? That was all the way back to 7 years ago. So this presidency has been embroiled in scandal from the beginning, and yet it doesn't stop him. Congress tries to put on the brakes. Don't worry, America. I got a pen and I got a phone. Let me be clear. Okay, I'm not Jason Wilkins. My Obama impression sucks. But so does Obama, so I guess it's all good. I mean, I don't understand it anymore. And now we have somebody that I used to admire, that I used to look up to, Miss Sarah Palin, who's just decided that Donald Trump is the best thing since sliced bread. I don't think I would be so disillusioned about it if it wasn't for the fact that the people that I grew up listening to, because, folks, I'm only 42 years old, Rush Limbaugh was probably one of my first exposures to talk radio. I watched his TV show religiously during the Clinton era because, you know, he had the running counter. So many hundreds of days until the America is free again. Yada, yada. Okay, and don't get me wrong, I like Rush. I have family and friends that make fun of me because of the fact that I like Rush, but I can't turn on his show anymore. Because it's the Donald Trump hour. and Donald Trump 3 hours, and the same hour over and over and over again, always talking about Donald Trump and how great he's going to be for the country. And then, at the top and the bottom of each hour, he says, well, for the record, folks, I'm not endorsing any candidate, but Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. Really kind of sounds like you're endorsing a candidate. And, and it's been a while since I've been able to listen to him, but the wife and I were out taking care of something that was rather important tonight. So on the way back in, I got a chance to turn on Mark Levin. And for about 5 minutes, I thought I saw a ray of sunshine. I really did, because I turned on the radio and I heard Mark Levin talking about someone who could only be Trump. But he was talking about him in a somewhat negative light. Talking about the thing that I brought up earlier with the ethanol, which I already knew about before I heard about it from him. Technically, he beat me to it, but it was still my idea. I was going to talk about it in my show just later than his. But the whole thing is, he was talking about how, Mr. Anti-Establishment is all up in the business of the ethanol and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody who finally understands. And then not 5 seconds later, he says, but if he gets the nomination, I'm going to have to support him. Okay, look, this is hard for me to say because I feel like at this point I've actually kind of jumped the shark a little bit as well, to be honest, because in 2012, I was yelling at people for not voting for Romney because Romney had to be better than Obama. And because so many people couldn't do it, we wound up with Obama again. And I'm like, look, you idiot, because of your principles, but now I've had an epiphany. And in the words of Smee from Hook, lightning has struck me brain. Because I get it now. As painful as it is, and as hard for me as it is to say, Donald Trump will destroy this country. I mean, at this point, if he gets the nomination, I don't know which of the three that we're currently looking at are actually going to be the ones to do it. But all three have a really good shot. But that's the point. Weren't we always supposed to be the party that was supposed to be different than the other one? Now we've become these guys light. We're just not as bad. And I've said it before, and I think it really only kind of sank in with me when I flashed back to a video game that I used to play in the 90s. It was on Xbox, the original Xbox. It was a game called Deus Ex. It was one of the very first attempts to basically turn a choose-your-own-adventure book into a video game, where basically you actually got to make decisions throughout the game that impacted the way the rest of the game played, and you got to see what happened. Well, here's a spoiler. Hopefully by now, since it was a game in the 90s, everybody's played it. But there are two different factions. What you find out, if you play it enough, you go all the way through on one side and you get to the big reveal and blah, blah, blah. And you go all the way through to the other, on the other side, just say, is anything different? Is this side more fun? And then you realize that no matter which side you start out on, by the end you realize that both sides are basically just brands. And there's a single group behind the scenes pulling the strings. And no, I'm not taking this to a tinfoil hat moment. I'm simply drawing the parallel that at some point, Democrat, Republican became a brand war. Interesting that they have embraced the colors of blue and red, even though there was a swap there at some point, because it's basically, you might as well say it's the politics of Coke and Pepsi. No matter which one you like, you're still drinking a soda. One is just a little different than the other. That is the nature of our political machine at this point. And it's one of the things that our founding fathers warned us about. We have become the government that our founding fathers warned us about. And I say we because it's everybody that's listening to me and that can hear the sound of my voice right now. If you are above the age of 18, then there's a little bit of the responsibility that falls in your lap for where we are today. And if you're above the age of 30, this squarely falls in your lap because we fell asleep at the switch. We got so busy trying to keep up with who has the better TV and who has the nicer car and who has the bigger house and Can I get another mortgage so I can put on an extra room? And where am I going to put the hot tub? And oh my God, when are we going to get a pool? That we stopped paying attention to what honestly mattered. What matters is our children, our grandchildren, their grandchildren, and are they going to have a country left that we will recognize? Now, I understand that as time goes on, there is going to be no way for this country to remain exactly as it was. I understand there are going to be changes. This country is nowhere near what it was when it was founded. But what I don't understand is how we have raised an entire generation who is ready to throw away freedom for just a little bit more security. And that is what Bernie Sanders is promising. And that is what Donald Trump is promising when he tells you, oh, Obamacare is bad, but Trump care is going to be huge. It's the same thing. Over and over and over again, it's the same thing. There's now this perpetuating cycle with politicians that the only thing that they care about is how can they consolidate their power to make sure that they can remain in power. And you can't tell me that it's not true. Look at John McCain. The guy used to be the maverick of the Senate. Now he's the glue bear of the Senate. And yet again, someone that at one point in time when I looked at him, I could respect him. And then I realized at some point along the way, he's gone the way of everyone else that has been doing this for too long. When you look at folks like John McCain, Sean Hannity, Ann Coulter, now Sarah Palin, they have gotten so used to hearing their own voice and so used to hearing from everyone that they're right, that they're correct, that they know more than anybody else, that they start believing it. And when you start listening to that, no matter what your intentions were when you started, it starts changing the way that you approach the world. It starts changing the way that you look at the world. I don't think that Ann Coulter ever meant to be the shrew that she is today. Just like I don't necessarily think that Donald Trump ever meant to be the bully that he is today. But let's face it, that's what he is. I mean, I feel like I'm back in high school. We're about to send the prom king to the White House. Don't know about you, but I've never really met very many nice prom kings. And we're about to send the prom king to the White House all because we're acting out of anger and fear. Don't get me wrong, folks. Those are not bad emotions. They're good emotions to have. But when you give in to them completely and totally and you let them start governing your decisions, then you have a bigger problem than I thought. And that's one of the things that I've been scared about for this country for the last decade. Hell, longer than a decade. I've been terrified of exactly what was going to happen ever since 9/11. When I started hearing Bush throw around words like the Patriot Act. Because then I started hearing Ben Franklin rolling around in my head. And that's when I started railing at the world, saying, look, are we not paying attention to what we're doing? Ben Franklin is another person that tried to warn us about all of this. All of our founding fathers had something interesting to say about what could happen if we lost control, or if we gave over too much control. Let me tell you, folks, we're pretty much there. We have an entire generation of people who basically view the president and the first lady as our parents, as evidenced by one Chris Rock, who a few years back actually said, the president and the first lady are like our parents. When they tell us we should do something, we should do something. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the antithesis of everything that office is supposed to stand for? Last I checked, parents aren't the servants of their children. They're the masters of their children, as evident by most state laws that don't even basically grant children any semblance of rights until they reach the age of 18. I'm not saying whether that's good or bad, just saying that obviously there's a disconnect somewhere when you say that the president and the first lady are basically our parent. Let me tell you something. I am 42 years old. I have parents. I don't need a second set. What I do need is someone who is going to hold to the values that we sent them to Washington to uphold. And that is the Constitution. We have not had a president uphold the Constitution, and I don't remember when. And don't get me wrong, because I was a fan of Bush 43 in his first term. I really was. Because, it took a while for all the stories about the Patriot Act to start leaking out. And, back then the internet wasn't nearly as fast or prevalent as it is today, so it took a while to get research done. It took lots of digging, and it took rooting around, and it took time for you to realize that basically your government had grown a fourth head, and there was now the surveillance branch. Nobody talks about it, but it's basically there. It's a conglomeration of government entities and private industry, and they've basically been spying on us since 2001-ish. All in the guise of keeping us safer. And we're about to turn that over to someone who's already proven they can't use it, Hillary Clinton. Wait, you mean my server can't be cleaned with a cloth? That lady. Or the Mr. Socialist who, anytime he talks, reminds me of Jim Ignatowski from Taxi. Or even worse, Doc Brown from Back to the Future. Or the crony capitalist, who will basically be an extension of some of the things that Obama has been doing with that surveillance branch now for the last several years, and basically targeting those who speak ill of him or do things that he doesn't like. And if you don't think that's what he will do if given the opportunity, please go back and listen to some of the things that he said about the people that have said not so nice things about him. He doesn't believe in the First Amendment. He doesn't even understand what the Second Amendment is. And he damn sure doesn't give a damn about any one of you. All right, folks. Well, at this point, that is going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. I'm afraid I do have to make room for the next folks coming in behind me on the affiliates that we are on. And if you're listening to me live, it's pretty late, and I need to go get things ready for tomorrow. All right, so I do want to take a moment to thank everybody for tuning in. It's been a bit. I understand this one was a little rougher than usual, but like I said, it's been a little hard to get anything lined out because anytime I think I know what I'm going to talk about, Donald Trump takes the forefront in everybody's news feeds and everything that they're talking about. So I just had a lot of things to get off my chest today, including the fact that at this point I am going to go back to something that I've said from day one. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am an American, and I want my country back, and I'm going to find a way to make that happen. I hope you will be here with me when you do, or when I do. And if you want to find a way to get involved, I do suggest that is exactly what you do, is put down the remote, get off the couch, and find a way to make a difference. Until I see you again, America, have a great night. God bless. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. I'll be back with you live tomorrow night if you're listening on K98 Talk, and when our normal airings are on all of our affiliates. Take care, folks.
Both did everything you earned by breaking your backs. We're gonna redistribute when we make our pay tax. Hey, sit back down.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.